Damn.
Hey everyone, welcome to Aero Sentinel's channel. Today we are going to go over the Hatsan Neutron star with regards to breakdown, just so you get familiar with components and the issues that we've been having. We kind of will give you an update on that, and also if you do run into the same issues, at least you're familiar with the internal components and how to go about replacing them or repairing it on your own. Keep in mind the warranty technicality. If you tear it down and your rifle is new, well, that goes out of the, out the water pretty much. So just keep that in mind. We don't condone tearing it down, but in a case like for ours, it wasn't worth, I mean, it's a $800 gun. It's not worth sending it back and forth, paying for the shipping, and by then I could have paid for the parts myself, and probably for far less. Plus, we're a little bit more handy. Well, I think we'd like to think so, but anyway, for those of you that are not, we kind of take you through it so that you can get familiar with it. Most rifles are basically all the same anyway. Once you get the hang of it, the theory, you get the concept of theory of operation, this and that. Functionality, they're all pretty much the same. But we'll take you through it. Obviously, if you've been following up with this Neutron star, we've been having issues with ours. In fact, two separate critical issues. The second one being more critical than the first. The first one was just a hammer sear and hammer spring that got busted. So we kind of want to take you through this process of tearing down, so that way you can kind of get a good feel for what you need to do in case you do run into some problems. Again, keep in mind your warranty will be voided, okay, if your rifle is new and still within that warranty period. So we wasn't going to send ours back. We could have paid for the parts itself and do it our own for much less, and that's where we were at. And plus we've been tuning and doing this for a while now, so they're all pretty much the same anyway. So the very first thing is you take out your rifle. You haven't been following up with the other video, go ahead and go look at that, and you can kind of know what issues we ran into. And the second one is now the spring valve, not the valve, but the valve O-ring failed, so that's what it is. And they sent us, Hatsan was nice enough to send us the replacement. But the replacement O-ring was free, 3 of them, okay. They sent 3. We had a 4th one that we used initially from the previous purchase of a maintenance O-ring seal kit that we purchased along with our magazine, and the first components that failed, which was the hammer sear and the hammer sear spring that failed. So to remove the stock, you can watch the adjustment video or the tuning video, and it's pretty much just 2 screws. We put that on the side, actually put it in a corner. And there you go. So when you're doing this, be careful. A vise is necessary. It's recommended, I mean, but it's not necessary, and we're too lazy to get the vise and dig it out from the storage. But anyway, here it is. Be careful with the trigger when you're doing this. You want to make sure the pressure is out, and you normally take a little bit of your adjustable wrench, loosen it some. Ours is already loose because the pressure have been depleted already, because we did try to work on it and it failed. The O-ring that Hatsan sent to repair, well, they all went bad within 60 to 100 shots. They all failed within that short period. Okay, so including the one we purchased in our maintenance kit. So basically you want to loosen this until you slowly loosen it until you start to hear it deplete the pressure. When the pressure is escaping, you just wait a little bit, and then as time goes by, it should go lower, and then from there you loosen it a little more, maybe more pressure might come out until you're confident that it's down, and then obviously you want to remove this and save it on the side, make sure it's out of the way. And this is the trigger assembly, and this is their sort of like a backstop screw. We've replaced this with a stainless steel one. And be careful when you're replacing it with just any one. Don't get it long, get it to the correct length that the other one was, the stock one. We also replaced the, because we've Teardown so many times that we weren't confident anymore with these Allen grub screws that was holding this in place, but we'll take you through them. But anyway, we just want to discuss a little bit about the rifle. So several things we noticed with this rifle is that you know, we did mess with it, and we got very, very consistent, because we wasn't really keen on keeping it at 44. We did try to put a regulator, but obviously a regulator wouldn't work. But we thought we'd try it anyway, because, you know, we like to experiment. So we put a regulator on this, and the regulator wouldn't work. Well, it wouldn't work to our expectation or to how we would like it. It works. You get consistency, definitely, but the problem is the power wouldn't be there because of the plenum. The plenum is basically the space between the regulator and and the valve. So that space, that volume, isn't sufficient to gain that power. So and because we thought we could get it up there anyway with regards to our expectation for this gun, we went ahead and removed the regulator and then played around with it a little more, but because we weren't too happy with the potential. We know that this gun can do 60 foot-pounds of energy, and we know it can do a little bit better, so we pushed it to about 53, 54 foot-pounds of energy, and it was consistent But only once it was consistent, and then we test and test and test and test, and we couldn't repeat that functionality. And that was only because after the O-ring for the valve broke, and we replaced it, we couldn't ever get it. So I think that one anomaly where it was consistent a little bit was partly due to the O-ring and maybe the consistency of the springs. But anyway, we'll take you through it and take it down, and kind of get you to where we got this rifle now, around 50 foot-pounds, about 51 foot-pounds of energy. Originally it was very, very consistent at 43 foot-pounds of energy, but we brought it to about 50 foot-pounds of energy now. And obviously the shot consistency is, the shot count is significant. So from 55 to 60 shots, we were down about 28 to 35 consistent shots. Okay, so that's where we're at now with this rifle. So we retuned, and without a regulator, and we got it to a very pretty much as consistent as it can be at around 50 foot-pounds of energy. So with that said, after you depleted the pressure, we'll go ahead and kind of put this on the side here, get it out of the way. And you want to remove your tank by simply, and the first time you do this, it might be tight. Just work at it. You probably have to put a little bit of elbow grease, but a nice glove that has the rubber stuff can help with removing the bottle. But be careful with the O-ring. If you don't want to replace it, just put it on the side. Make sure to lube it some. Ours is already lubed to some extent, but just be careful with all the parts. Make sure you're on a towel. This one, for ease of visibility for you folks, we placed not just our moving blanket here, but our paper towel, so help you kind of see it better on what we're doing. But anyway, so this is the hammer backstop. Okay, so it's just a and what that does is the anti-bounce, possibly. Okay, I don't know what the design is for this, but it helps it to minimize the hammer travel. Okay, because when you've gotten the hammer tension way too high, that travel can ping too far, and that can also cause it to be as inconsistent, and this helps with consistency. Okay, so you don't need to disassemble this. We replace ours with a stainless steel one, but get it to the same length, because if it's longer, if you replace it and it's longer, we replaced ours because the other one was too soft, and over time when it kept hitting that thing, and you can see the other video, it kind of had flattened some, and then our consistency is different. So over time, get a whole bunch of these, and you'll have to replace them time and time again, because the hammer banging on the screw will turn it flat. Okay, and also if you get it too long, it may break, or it may bend, and the curve will make it difficult to kind of the bend will make it difficult to get it out of its place. But anyway, so what we'll do here now is, in order to go further with this, you want to just go ahead and remove the barrel, and you're gonna need a, oh, actually, because you can't remove this valve block. I'm not sure what Hatsan would call it. I call it a valve block because that's where the valving is. But you'd have to, because your shroud would be on the way. You can remove this without removing the barrel, but it's easier, and you can just remove the shroud. So for us, we'll just remove the barrel altogether. The barrel is simplistic. You just need a 2.5, and you just want to be careful as well when you're putting it back, because the O-ring can get damaged when you're placing it. So lubricate it pretty good, not excessively, just pretty good. And you kind of want to just wiggle it as you pull, and you should be able to get this guy out. We're not gonna do it, it's very simple. It's just a matter of removing this. It's the shroud, and then you notice on the other video I was making a little bit more of a hollow sound. Well, we put a little bit of sound deadening material in there, so now it's not as hollow sounding. But anyway, we'll put that on the side. And now from here you can actually take this 4mm and remove or back out. Okay, ours is pretty loose already because we're waiting on parts. But the first time you do this, and it's a good point to also make sure when you're removing this for the first time, remember the torque force that it took you to get it out. You don't want to crank this down as well, because you can damage that valve. Anyway, and then just back it up enough, okay? And then at the same time, when you do take it out, just remove it all the way, and then apply some what do you call that, Loctite, okay? And then from there you kind of just want to wiggle it out slow, just like how you did with the barrel, and it'll come out, okay? Just like this. And what this is you want to take something like we normally use, let me see what I can find, I don't know where it's at, but we normally use some kind of a sling, like for our rifle sling, and we take it like this, and then we take this guy, and then we take another one, and being very careful, we want to adjust it, make sure it's nice and snug for both sides. And the sling only helps to kind of protect your finish, and ours is already loose, but we're just going through the motion here, okay? And you may end up having to really gut at that, okay? I mean really work that the very first time, because it's tight. It's definitely tight, okay? But yeah, you might want to need a little bit of help with a vise, possibly a good vise, and then of course make sure your vise has a adapter to protect the finish, okay, when you're clamping it down. And this also has another O-ring, and be careful here, okay, because there's a spring behind this valve, okay? And we'll show you on our previous video we had a issue, okay, and that issue, so this is the spring, and this spring, there's a valve there that keeps, you know, so be careful not to drop that, because it can fall out like that, okay? So this is, and we replaced this O-ring with a different style O-ring. Can't remember the O-ring name, but we replaced it, and it's holding better. And that's literally it. I mean, this thing is bent some, so I think that's probably one of the issues. Not that, you know, we did anything to bend it. I think it's just the force over time, not the force, but, you know, over time as this valve works itself. I think maybe that shape, when it's compressed, it kept it bent. But anyway, so this valve right here, this is basically what is this O-ring right here. When this gets damaged or bad, this O-ring, which this one is, okay, then it will, so these are all the O-rings that went bad for it. Well, this thing is going out, and when the hammer hits this valve, this spring helps it to push back along with the air pressure, the high side, the high pressure side, which is the tank side, and kind of get you into that area where it will kind of go bad. Okay, so I mean, I'm not sure what I'm saying now, but anyway. What I'm saying is that it somehow the design here is either this could have been slightly longer, or the spring guide for here is better, or this is longer so that it keeps this spring retained, because when this, we notice that when we have it in place and we're pushing it, manually pushing it, when we have it in place, we notice when we push it in, we notice the valve kind of angles. So I think that that's what's causing this O-ring to fail. And thankfully, Hatsan was kind enough to send O-ring, but we also 3 free O-ring, and it's like woo. But you know, it's good of them, okay? But I ordered 10, okay? I ordered 10 plus this, okay? Because I'm wondering if there's some issue with this that's causing that O-ring to be bad. So I just ordered this plus this, and that cost about plus 10 of these O-ring. I think it's a number 2 O-ring. I don't know the size, but if I have to guess from my O-ring kits, this is probably a 2, okay? But anyway, the thing now is make sure that this is clean, and you inspect, you know, this valve, and you put it back properly, which is the O-ring side goes towards the tank side, okay, when you put it back. And make sure you lube it, and then this spring sits right in the center, like dead center, okay, and there's a little bit of a indentation there for it to sit, and that's literally it. And if you need to replace it, I've also replaced the O-ring and that valve guide in there, which looks like this, just to see if I could alleviate it from getting damaged. And this is actually the original, okay? This is the O-ring there, and this is Durlin material, but anyway, if you could see that, that's what's in here, okay? And this valve sits, and you can kind of see that this has a little bit of a conical shape to it, so that's where this conical portion of this piston valve would sit and help seal pressure, okay? So if you're having leak problems, this probably is bad, okay? and you need to replace it. So the O-ring and the Durlin, and you're gonna be wondering how in the hell you're gonna remove that, because obviously you don't want to push something in here so hard that you might damage or create some sort of damage internally that could potentially be damaging your stuff. So you take a size of O-ring which is slightly bigger than this. I think this is a number 3. This is a number 3 O-ring, and this number 3 O-ring, you place it in here, where in place of this number 2 O-ring, I'm saying number 2, but don't quote me on that. I'm just guessing from my kits and my experience with tearing down rifles. But anyway, and then you would put it in place of the damaged one and then push it. It's gonna take you a little bit of pressure, but you wanna push it. And the way to push it is, this is a perfect fit for when you put this one in. Like if this was a new one, this is a perfect fit, you know. And you want to just evenly push it in there with this, okay? So that way it goes in evenly, because if it's tilted one side and you push it in, well, it's gonna get damaged. But you know, push this in with this wrong size O-ring, and then it should go through this, okay? And once you get it through, now all you have to do is push it back out this way with a with a much smaller, being careful not to damage the side, but push this back out this way, and it will come out along with this, okay? And that's how you take it out. All right. So we're gonna check battery, because our battery isn't that great. We're gonna check battery here and break it down and restart another as we continue with this series.
People on YouTube, you call me a homo, but you think I stand by this? Well, that shit is a no-go. You're all coming one, because what